I'm Sarah, 29 years old, and here I am in this courtroom seeing my husband of 6 years grinning as he puts his signature on our divorce documents. Michael always viewed me as nothing more than a simple small-town girl, lacking any serious drive. What he didn't realize was that, while he was busy having an affair with his colleague, I was quietly constructing my own empire right under his nose. The judge is getting ready to go through my financial disclosure, and I can't wait to watch that arrogant grin vanish from his face. Before I describe how my soon-to-be ex-husband's expression totally shifted, let me know where you're tuning in from, and smash that like and subscribe button if you've ever had to prove yourself when nobody thought you had it in you. I grew up as a small-town girl in Tennessee who relocated to Nashville to pursue accounting studies at Vanderbilt University. I held ambitious goals of entering corporate finance, even though I came from a modest background. My parents had always instilled in me the importance of diligence and smart saving, principles that would become incredibly valuable in the years ahead. I first encountered Michael at a cafe close to the university grounds. I was busy preparing for a financial analysis test when he walked up to my table. He was a third-year law student from a well-established family of Nashville lawyers and carried the sort of self-assurance that stems from never facing financial struggles even for a moment. "You have potential, you just need the proper direction," were his opening words to me as he glanced at my accounting books spread out. Back then, I took it as praise. Today, I understand it was both a put-down and a glimpse into our whole relationship. He appeared ideal, driven, charismatic, accomplished, and seemingly drawn to me regardless of my everyday roots. Our courtship moved fast. Michael introduced me to dining spots I couldn't have afforded, short getaways to Gatlinburg, and showed me a way of living I'd only witnessed in films. Yet right from the start, he was always refining my style and social network. He picked apart my everyday outfits, recommended a more polished haircut, and dropped gentle remarks about my university friends having narrow perspectives. I earned a reasonable salary through part-time work as an accounting assistant at a modest company. I enjoyed my role, the problem-solving elements, and the fulfillment of watching figures align perfectly. Michael, though, called it my little gig, and often hinted that I shouldn't bother working at all. "Why tire yourself for pocket change when I can provide everything you require?" he would comment, failing to grasp that my profession meant far more than income. It represented my sense of self and autonomy. After 18 months together, he proposed on a romantic escape to Gatlinburg. The ring was breathtaking, the champagne high-end, and the setting arranged for perfect drama. Several diners even clapped. It seemed like a dream come true, and I agreed instantly. Our wedding took place in a cozy ceremony in Savannah, Georgia, my preference even though his relatives pushed for a more lavish event in Nashville. In hindsight, that was one of the rare occasions I stood firm against the Shannon family's demands. "At least it's in a decent place, even if it's modest," remarked his mother, Margaret, with a forced smile that never touched her eyes. That gave me my initial real sense of how his family saw me, as someone not entirely suitable for their son. Following our Caribbean honeymoon, we settled into his residence in Belle Meade, one of Nashville's most prestigious areas. The home was modern, costly, and impersonal, much like his relatives. I attempted to incorporate personal elements like pictures, vibrant art pieces, and greenery, but Michael favored the clean minimalist style that displayed affluence over our shared character. Early warning signs emerged within months. Michael challenged every furnishing choice I made, found fault with my selection of companions, and offered indirect criticism about my professional direction. "Accounting is so ordinary," he remarked once after encountering some of my coworkers. "You have the ability to stand out, but you're squandering it on record-keeping for unknown firms." I attempted to blend into his social group, the spouses of fellow lawyers and business leaders who filled their time with retail therapy, spa visits, or organizing fundraisers. They were civil enough directly to me, yet I never sensed real belonging. I caught one of them at a dinner event calling me Michael's trial run with the average class. Instead of supporting me, Michael later advised me to put in more effort to belong. Perhaps refresh my clothing or learn tennis. "They simply require proof that you're trying to adjust to our way of life," he clarified, as though my personality needed reshaping and fixing. Those initial years blended luxury with isolation, receiving lavish presents while my confidence steadily eroded. I was gradually turning into what Michael desired, a trophy spouse who enhanced his image, while the self-reliant, imaginative person I used to be slowly disappeared. 2 years into our marriage, the underlying strains started to erupt. Michael had always been strict regarding our money matters, but his conduct grew more domineering. Even with shared bank accounts, he scrutinized every expense I made, yet he spent freely on himself without any talk. "Did you truly require another collection of career growth books?" he would inquire while reviewing the statements. "That's $150 that could have been put into investments." At the same time, he saw no problem splurging thousands on a fresh golf club membership or luxury timepieces. Over time, I became cut off from my friends and relatives. Trips to see my parents in rural Tennessee grew rarer because Michael always found a reason. A business function, a client meal, or simply that country Tennessee feels too basic for my liking. My university friends quit reaching out after Michael made it obvious they weren't refined enough for his house. "Your friend Jessica inquired if our wine came from California," he sneered after a gathering I had arranged, as though we'd offer local wine to visitors. "It's humiliating, Sarah." My job, once a point of pride, turned into an ongoing conflict. When I received an offer for promotion to senior accountant, Michael showed no encouragement. "Is that small raise worth the additional time away from the house?" he asked. "We're thinking about beginning a family soon, remember?" This caught me by surprise. Whenever I raised the topic of kids, he always replied that the moment wasn't suitable. It was during this phase that I uncovered my enthusiasm for financial advising. The company I was with was broadening its offerings, and I stepped up to study the consulting and planning sides. I discovered I possessed an innate ability for grasping investment trends and developing money strategies that produced tangible outcomes. Thrilled by this fresh path, I told Michael about my vision of eventually launching my own specialized financial advising practice. His reply was devastating. "Sarah, be practical. Launching a venture demands business insight, which isn't really your strength. Plus, most little companies collapse in the first year. Why gamble with what we already have?" Our differing views on finances revealed our core differences. Michael favored showy spending. The ideal location, the ideal vehicle, the ideal travel destinations, all to project an image of achievement. I, shaped by my working-class roots, valued conserving, prudent investing, and seeking worth beyond mere expensive labels. As our third anniversary neared, Michael's extended evenings at the office shifted from occasional to routine. Major client market review end-of-quarter filings. His reasons changed, but his absence stayed the same. I dined solo nearly every evening, slept alone, and more experienced the existence of a single person, yet under the money oversight of a kid on pocket money. Our first really big fight happened after his family's yearly Christmas get-together. On the drive back, his mother had directly inquired when we would provide her with grandkids. I stated I was prepared as soon as Michael was, only for him to neatly switch topics. When I challenged him later at home, his reply was chilly. "Kids are a huge duty and cost," he said, loosening his tie. "With your average job and my family's standards, any child of ours would require trust accounts, elite education, the proper networks. We're not ready yet financially." "Not ready yet?" I asked, truly puzzled. "Michael, you earn 6 figures. Your family possesses inherited wealth. What exactly are we holding out for?" His answer revealed a lot. "My finances aren't the problem. You still haven't built yourself up adequately. What would you bring to a child's future?" The pain from his comments lingered for days. His belittling view of my profession, insignificant, he labeled my earnings in another dispute, hardened my resolve. I required economic self-reliance, not only for my benefit but for my peace of mind. That same week, I started a private bank account at another institution. I arranged a modest automatic transfer from my salary, not large enough for Michael to spot if he reviewed our shared accounts, but sufficient to begin creating my own foundation. At the same time, I started learning about financial autonomy. I studied texts on investing, enrolled in complimentary web classes on company leadership, and signed up for updates on startup ventures. I handled all this through private windows, cautious not to leave any online traces for Michael to uncover. The lady who had once been charmed by extravagant displays and costly meals was gradually waking up to the luxurious trap she inhabited and mapping her exit, one careful move at a time. While Michael kept up his late office hours, I started establishing the base for my autonomy. With my expanding private funds, I formed a small company called Sarah Mitchell Financial Solutions and created a clean, professional site displaying my experience and offerings. My initial hurdle was carving out time to develop my venture without Michael's awareness. I transformed our seldom-used spare room into a workspace at home, telling Michael I required a specific area for ongoing studies to progress at the office. He hardly noticed the adjustment, brushing off my career growth as endearing drive instead of a genuine pursuit. Just make sure it doesn't clash with our social duties, was his sole worry. My first customer arrived by chance at the neighborhood cafe. I caught Elena Rodriguez, proprietor of an expanding food service company, voicing frustration over high fees from money experts. I can't pay $10,000 for a money blueprint, but I'm losing funds somewhere and can't pinpoint it, she shared with her associate. I introduced myself, outlined my experience, and proposed assistance at a much lower rate, noting I was expanding my experience base. Elena risked it with me, and the outcomes surpassed both our hopes. I spotted cash flow gaps in her operations, reorganized her supplier payments, and designed an investment approach for her earnings that boosted her gains by 40% in the opening quarter. The change was striking enough that she connected me with fellow small business proprietors in her circle. Collaborating with Elena provided me not only my initial victory, but also a real friendship, which had been absent in Michael's selected social set. She was genuine, diligent, and valued my abilities in a manner my spouse never did. "You possess real talent, Sarah," she shared with me during coffee one afternoon. "You grasp finances in ways that assist everyday people create actual prosperity. Never let anyone convince you differently." I handled work during late hours while Michael was out on his more regular work travels. I turned our large closet into a temporary workspace for client discussions, using covers to mute noise. Every fresh customer brought both excitement and fear. Excitement from my venture expanding. Fear because getting caught would spark a clash. The growth process was challenging. I committed errors like quoting low for detailed work or sometimes promising too much on deadlines. But I adapted fast. Every customer instructed me on operating a venture, enforcing limits, and recognizing my own knowledge. I used my reserves to purchase necessary programs and qualifications, discreetly mixing the costs into home bills or paying in cash. My customer base expanded consistently throughout the year, mostly via recommendations and personal networks. Instead of using the earnings, I poured most back into the venture and reserved a share for smart investments. Michael stayed unaware, linking my rising self-assurance to finally settling into our way of life instead of career satisfaction. A key turning point arrived when I assisted a technology startup leader whose money reorganization following my advice enabled her to obtain major funding. The achievement appeared in a Nashville business publication. I had to refuse being named, mentioning confidentiality, yet the standing opened doors to bigger customers. Via Elena, I connected with Patricia Chen, a repeat business creator who had sold her earlier firm for 8 figures and was beginning a fintech venture. Starting with a minor task, Patricia soon turned into both a key customer and advisor. "You're pricing your skills too low," she stated directly after checking my fee list. "Raise them threefold and observe how your worth shifts." She was correct. After increasing my rates, I didn't lose customers but drew more solid companies ready to invest in excellence. Patricia also guided me into angel funding and calculated portfolio handling. "Cash loses worth when idle," she noted. "You must put your money to work." With her direction, I started calculated investments in new firms, including Patricia's latest project focused on AI-powered money tools. I began modestly, but as my venture expanded, my investment holdings did too. The thrill of seeing both my business and investments expand was addictive. For the first time since encountering Michael, I felt genuinely vibrant, driven, and self-sufficient. I was creating something meaningful purely through my own efforts. During this time, I kept up the image of simply being Michael's spouse at gatherings. I smiled and agreed when his associates' partners chatted about their buying sprees and fundraiser plans. I joined his professional dinners and performed the supportive partner part perfectly, all while managing a thriving venture from our residence and making investment choices that would reshape my path. My secret existence was tiring yet strengthening. Each new customer, each effective session, each investment gain marked progress toward the liberty I increasingly understood I desired and required from my dominating marriage. 4 years into our union, the mask started to break. It began with a message that showed on Michael's phone while he showered, a snippet visible on the lock screen from someone labeled A, saying, "Missing you already." The note vanished before I could see the rest, but it sowed doubt I couldn't dismiss. Michael had seemed more detached lately, often returning home carrying a strange scent he dismissed as from colleague hugs at networking functions. Rather than facing him right away, I chose to look deeper. I tracked his routines, the extended Thursday sessions that always lasted past 9, the weekend meetings without traceable sites. The sudden rise in client meals at one particular high-end downtown spot. The next Thursday, I informed Michael I was heading to Alina's to assist with a special company function at her food service firm. Instead, I left my vehicle close to the restaurant he visited often and waited. At 8:30, his BMW entered the lot. 10 minutes later, a red Mercedes showed up and a woman with light hair exited. Even from afar, I identified Amanda Walsh, his associate from the law office. I observed them hug in a manner colleagues never would. I saw him kiss her in the lot before they went inside the restaurant together. My hands trembled as I captured images with my phone, my stomach sinking with betrayal and certainty. I waited 30 minutes before entering the restaurant. They sat at a side table, his hand over hers, talking closely. I walked up quietly, my heart racing so hard I thought it was audible. "This clarifies the late sessions," I stated, my tone surprisingly calm. Michael pulled back sharply, his face shifting from surprise to remorse and finally landing on irritation at being discovered. Amanda looked ashamed, grabbing her bag and muttering about stepping away. "Sarah, this isn't how it appears," Michael started, using the polished voice he saved for tough clients. "Really? Because it appears you're dining with your partner while your wife believes you're on the job." The exchange that followed felt unreal. Michael gave a weak apology, insisted it was merely physical, and had the nerve to fault me for his cheating. "You've been too consumed with your small accounting tasks," he said, dropping his voice as people at nearby tables started noticing the rising tension. "You've turned dull, Sarah, lacking any drive. When was the last time you actually tried in our marriage?" I walked out of the restaurant by myself, driving around without direction for hours before heading back home. Michael returned after midnight, making promises to stop the affair, recommending therapy, and even suggesting another honeymoon. For reasons I couldn't completely understand at the time, I acted like I was open to working things out. "I need some time," I told him, and that wasn't untrue. I needed time not to forgive him, but to prepare my next moves carefully. The following weeks became a masterclass in deception from both sides. Michael temporarily turned more caring, bringing bouquets, planning evenings out, while I started meeting with divorce lawyers during what I claimed were client appointments. Rebecca Torres, a strong and experienced divorce attorney suggested by Patricia, explained the facts of my position. "Tennessee follows equitable distribution rules," she told me. "Since there was no prenuptial agreement, the court will split marital property based on what it considers fair, not necessarily equal shares." I learned about our complicated financial connections, the challenges of separating from someone with family wealth, and why documenting every detail mattered. "Knowledge is power, especially during divorce," Rebecca emphasized. My careful fact-finding stopped suddenly when Michael found my search history on our shared laptop. I had forgotten to use private mode for one query: Tennessee Divorce Asset Division Process. His anger exploded instantly and intensely. He trapped me in the kitchen, holding up his phone with the screenshot he had captured. Is this what you've been up to? Planning to leave me and grab my money? His face turned flushed, a vein throbbing on his forehead. Let me be very clear, Sarah. You'll have nothing without me. Nothing. My family's attorneys will guarantee that. I stayed calm, which only made him angrier. I'm not planning anything, Michael. I was only looking things up after what happened. Wouldn't you do the same? He seemed somewhat satisfied with my answer, but the warning hung heavy between us. That night, I moved all my crucial business papers to protected cloud storage and started copying digital files onto drives I stored in a safety deposit box that Michael knew nothing about. The final revelation happened 3 weeks later. While sorting through our closet, something Michael never helped with, I discovered a jewelry receipt hidden inside his formal shoes. It was from Tiffany & Co., dated 2 months earlier, for a diamond tennis bracelet worth almost $12,000. I had never gotten any such present from him. Even after learning about the affair, this proof of his real spending on another woman hurt in a deeper way than I had anticipated. The receipt proved he had used our money, supposedly shared money, on Amanda. Before I could fully absorb this fresh betrayal, I heard the front door open. Voices. Michael and a woman laughing in our hallway. I stayed completely still inside the closet as they walked into our bedroom, obviously not expecting me to be home during the day. I stepped out and saw Michael and Amanda holding each other at the end of our bed, the same bed we had shared for 4 years. Sarah, Michael exclaimed, not even moving away from Amanda. You're supposed to be at work. I took a half day, I replied, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. Clearly, I should have informed you first. What happened next was not the dramatic, emotional scene I had seen in movies. Instead, Michael turned coldly practical. Well, this saves me from having an awkward talk, he said, adjusting his tie. I want a divorce, Sarah. Amanda and I are building a future together. His confidence was total as he laid out his conditions. He would kindly let me keep my personal belongings and offer a small payment to help me restart. The house, our investments, even the furniture we bought together would stay with him. My lawyers will contact you, he finished, looking puzzled by my lack of tears or begging. You should look for another place to stay starting tonight. Actually, I said, since this is still legally my home as well, I'll be staying here. You and Amanda can find a hotel. His face grew dark at my resistance, but Amanda pulled his arm. Let's leave, Michael. We can handle this later. As they walked out, Michael turned back with one last comment. You'll regret refusing my generous proposal. By the time my lawyers finish, you'll be lucky to afford a trailer in the worst part of town. I closed the door behind them, leaned against it, and for the first time since finding out about his affair, I smiled. Michael had no clue what was about to happen. The day after I caught Michael and Amanda in our bedroom, he took most of his clothes and belongings out of the house. I changed the locks that same afternoon. It might have been legally questionable, but it gave me time to carefully record everything we owned before he could take anything valuable. Michael's belief in my financial inexperience showed clearly in the first settlement proposal his lawyer sent. A single payment of $50,000 plus 6 months of support. In return, I would give up any claims on the rest of our assets, including the house I had helped decorate and look after for 4 years. He's testing you, Rebecca explained when I showed her the offer. He's assuming you don't understand your rights or the real value of our marital assets. Following Rebecca's advice, I officially turned down the proposal and started the financial discovery process, which legally requires both sides to reveal all assets and debts. Michael's team responded by delaying and complicating things at every step. This is a common strategy, Rebecca assured me. They hope to exhaust your money and patience until you settle for less than you should. What Michael didn't know was that I wasn't relying on his disclosures. I had been carefully monitoring our joint finances for years, including accounts he believed were hidden from me. More importantly, I had my own growing assets that he knew nothing about. After thoughtful discussion and advice from Rebecca, we chose a smart approach. I would hold back the full details of my business and investments during the early stages of talks. Tennessee law usually treats businesses started during marriage as shared property. But Rebecca found a possible exception because Michael had actively discouraged my venture and given zero support, financial or otherwise, to its development. We'll reveal everything at the proper moment, she promised. But for now, let him stick to his own story about you. While the legal proceedings moved slowly, Michael started a social attack. Mutual friends stopped answering my calls. Invitations to events disappeared. Even our neighbors, who had always been warm, became distant and formal. I later found out that Michael was telling people I had cheated on him, that I was emotionally unstable, and that he was divorcing me despite trying hard to save our marriage. In the social circles where his family name mattered, his story was believed without hesitation. The hurt from this social isolation was sharper than I expected. People I had spent holidays with, celebrated important moments with, and shared secrets with, all disappeared from my life because of Michael's lies. Everyone except Alina and Patricia, who stood by me without question. People who trust rumors without hearing both sides aren't worth your time. Alina told me over emergency snacks in her catering kitchen after a tough day. Focus on creating your new life instead of grieving the old one. Michael's efforts to scare me increased as he realized I wouldn't silently accept his conditions. There were late-night calls with indirect threats about making sure you never find work in this city again, and even hints that he would report tax problems. An empty threat, since my business records were perfectly organized. His family joined the campaign of pressure. His mother, Margaret, phoned to talk sense into me. "We always knew you weren't suitable for Michael," she said, her tone full of superiority, "but we accepted you because he picked you. Don't complicate this, Sarah. Take what's offered and move forward gracefully." I kept my calm through everything, a skill I had mastered during years of enduring quiet insults at Shannon family events. "Thank you for your concern, Margaret. I'll follow my lawyer's guidance." Michael's arrogance started to backfire on him. Convinced I had no means to fight a long legal battle, he made several serious errors. He failed to reveal investment accounts that I had proof of. He undervalued his stock holdings. He declared some assets as his own when they had clearly been bought with joint money. Rebecca carefully recorded every inconsistency, building strong evidence that would later damage his trustworthiness in court. Meanwhile, my company saw rapid expansion during the separation. A financial reorganization plan I created for a local restaurant group helped them escape bankruptcy and triple their earnings, resulting in coverage in industry magazines. I had to turn down interview requests for personal reasons, but the professional recognition brought in many new clients. The big turning point arrived when I won a contract with a national retail company to completely redesign their financial approach. A six-figure agreement that took my business from successful to outstanding. I hired 4 staff members, leased a proper office in downtown Nashville, and started refusing clients whose goals didn't match my company's values. All of this occurred while Michael and his legal team kept describing me as a struggling bookkeeper, relying on her husband's support. His image of me as the innocent small-town girl impressed by his money had become so fixed that he couldn't imagine my achievements without him. During this period, Patricia introduced me to a network of angel investors interested in supporting promising fintech companies. My mix of hands-on financial knowledge and tech insight impressed them enough to provide seed money for a groundbreaking financial planning app I had been creating. The app, which used AI to deliver custom financial guidance for small businesses and individuals, launched in beta and received strong positive feedback. Within 6 months, we reached 50,000 users and started receiving buyout offers from big financial companies. I also made smart investments in several other startups, using my connections and financial skills to spot businesses with strong growth possibilities. My portfolio spread across technology, property, and new markets, all managed carefully to increase returns while reducing risks. The night before our final court appearance, I sat alone in the house that had never truly felt like home, thinking about my entire journey. 4 years earlier, I had been so eager to satisfy Michael that I had started losing my own identity. His betrayal, as painful as it was, had pushed me to rediscover my strength, ambition, and true value. I packed a small bag for the night. No matter what the judge decided, I had made up my mind not to spend another night in the place where my marriage had fallen apart. My new penthouse apartment was prepared, bought through an LLC Michael knew nothing about, decorated with items I had selected for their beauty and comfort instead of their prestige. As I closed the bag, my phone buzzed with a message from Patricia. Remember who you truly are tomorrow, not who he tried to turn you into. With those words in my mind, I got ready to face the last chapter of my marriage to Michael Shannon. The morning of our court date was bright and cool. I wore a navy blue suit, professional yet assured, with one piece of jewelry. A small diamond pendant that Alina and Patricia had given me to celebrate my business's second anniversary. Your Independence Diamond, they had named it. I reached the courthouse 30 minutes early, just as Rebecca had recommended. Michael was already present, dressed sharply in a custom charcoal suit, with his attorney David Harrison next to him. David was a senior partner at one of Nashville's top law firms and known for aggressive divorce outcomes that benefited wealthy clients. Michael smirked when he spotted me, leaning over to whisper something to David that made both of them laugh. His confidence was obvious. He thought this was just a routine step before his certain win. Rebecca arrived shortly after, looking sharp in a burgundy suit that stood out in the courthouse's dull setting. Unlike David with his group of junior lawyers, Rebecca operated with focus and determination, showing a quiet strength that had comforted me since our first meeting. "Ready?" she asked, her face revealing nothing to watchers. "More than ready," I answered. Judge Catherine Williams' courtroom felt stern and formal. The judge, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes, was known for being fair, but having little tolerance for tricks or dramatic scenes. As the session started, Michael delivered an Oscar-worthy performance. His testimony portrayed him as the loyal husband who had backed his wife's simple career goals, only to face ungratefulness and excessive demands in the divorce. "I just want a fair outcome." "Your Honor," he said, his voice carefully tuned to sound like reasonable disappointment. "I've offered Mrs. Shannon a generous settlement that would let her live comfortably while she restarts her career." David presented their arguments for asset division, treating Michael's family wealth as separate, downplaying my role in our shared assets, and proposing that the house, mainly bought with his income, should stay with him. Throughout their arguments, I kept my composure, neither responding to Michael's false claims nor showing my feelings. Judge Williams sometimes looked in my direction, her face impossible to read. When it was time to sign the first divorce order ending our marital status while finances were settled later, Michael made a big show of it. He signed with a dramatic flourish, a laugh slipping out as he closed his Montblanc pen. As he walked back to his seat, he came close enough to whisper, "Enjoy going back to your parents' farm." Rebecca's presentation started in an organized way, her style a clear contrast to David's showy arguments. She showed proof of Michael's financial dishonesty during our marriage, the secret accounts, the extravagant spending on Amanda, and the pattern of financial dominance. "Your Honor," Rebecca stated, "Mr. Shannon has not been honest about the complete range of marital assets as Tennessee law demands." She presented records of accounts Michael had hidden, including dates, account numbers, and estimated values. Michael shifted uneasily in his chair as Rebecca continued, his arrogant look. "Like, subscribe, and smash that bell before it smashes you. Stay with reddittalestime for chilling twists, haunting tales, and daily doses of the disturbing. You've been warned."